A sharply dressed black man steps into an upscale jewelry store in downtown Atlanta, his presence commanding but calm. The manager barely looks up, already assuming he doesn't belong. With subtle scorn, the staff brushes him off, refusing to show him the high-end pieces. Come back with someone who can afford it. The manager sneers. Around them, customers pause, watching, sensing something isn't right. Welcome to our channel. Marcus Langford wasn't born into wealth. He was born into grit. At 39, he's a picture success. Clean-cut, impeccably dressed, and calm in a way that commands attention without saying a word. But the road to this version of Marcus was anything but smooth. He grew up in the heart of a struggling Atlanta neighborhood, where gunshots echoed more often than opportunity. Raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs, Marcus found refuge in the one safe haven that would change his life, a tiny, underfunded public library. That's where he discovered coding, teaching himself through borrowed books and outdated computers. While other kids were outside chasing trouble, Marcus was inside chasing algorithms. Years later, after countless setbacks and rejections, Marcus launched his first tech startup from a cramped apartment. Investors didn't take him seriously at first. Too young, too inexperienced, and if they were honest, too black. But Marcus had what most didn't: a relentless drive and a vision that wouldn't be ignored. Eventually, his breakthrough app, an AI-powered productivity platform, exploded in popularity, pulling in millions in revenue and setting the stage for an empire. Today, he's the CEO of Langford & Company, a luxury lifestyle brand that spans fashion, tech, and high-end retail. Among his latest ventures is a line of luxury jewelry boutiques designed to merge elegance with modern identity, one of which now stands proudly in the heart of downtown Atlanta. Marcus isn't flashy. He doesn't wear his success on his sleeve. No bodyguards. No entourages. He believes in walking into a room and letting silence speak for him. But even with all he's achieved, Marcus knows that the world doesn't always see what he's built. Sometimes they just see the color of his skin. That quiet, persistent truth follows him everywhere, lingering in side eyes, in patronizing tones, in questions like, "Can I help you?" delivered with suspicion instead of service. And it was that same truth that would confront him once again in the very store he built. One quiet Thursday afternoon, Marcus Langford decided to visit one of his newest jewelry boutiques. Unannounced. No security detail. No assistant. Just Marcus in his usual crisp navy suit, leather briefcase in hand, and calm confidence in his stride. He often made these surprise visits to ensure the customer experience matched the brand's values. Today, he wanted to see how his store treated someone who walked in off the street. From the moment he stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The frontline associates glanced up, then quickly looked away. The manager, a well-dressed man in his early 40s named Richard, stiffened. Without knowing who Marcus was, he sized him up at a glance and dismissed him just as fast. Marcus browsed quietly, eyeing the craftsmanship of the displays he himself had approved just months ago. When he asked to view a rare platinum and emerald bracelet, a signature piece from his luxury collection, Richard scoffed under his breath. "That one's not for browsing," he said flatly. "We only show that piece to serious buyers." Marcus maintained his composure. "I'd still like to take a look." Richard's expression hardened. "No offense, sir, but that piece is well out of your price range. Maybe check the items in the display by the front door. We have some lower-end rings there." Before Marcus could respond, Richard discreetly nodded toward the security guard, who subtly repositioned himself to keep Marcus in view. The unspoken message was loud and clear: "You don't belong here." Without another word, Marcus turned and walked out. No scene, no confrontation, just a quiet exit into the hallway outside the store. But as the glass door closed behind him, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. 7 minutes later, the atmosphere inside the boutique flipped. The doors flew open. In walked the regional director of Langford & Company and the head of human resources, both summoned by Marcus's call. Their presence immediately created a ripple of confusion among the staff. The manager straightened up, visibly nervous now, sensing something was wrong, but not yet understanding the scale of it. The silence in the store turned heavy. The customers watched. The employees froze. Richard's face drained of color as the HR director looked around and calmly asked, "Where's the manager?" A tense hush settled over the store as the regional director and head of HR stood near the main display counter. Employees whispered nervously, casting glances toward the manager, Richard, who now looked visibly pale. The customers, once casually browsing, were now watching intently, sensing that something important was unfolding. Then the doors opened again. Marcus Langford stepped back inside, but this time, not as an anonymous customer. His posture was taller, voice firmer, presence undeniable. There was no need for raised voices. His silence carried weight. A few customers gasped quietly in recognition. One woman near the back began recording on her phone, whispering, "That's Marcus Langford. He owns this place." The manager froze, confusion and disbelief etched into his face. "Mr. Langford?" he asked, blinking as if trying to undo the moment. I didn't realize." Marcus stopped directly in front of him. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "No, you didn't," he said. "And that's exactly the problem." Richard began scrambling for words, stumbling through excuses. "Sir, please understand we have strict protocols. High-value items require pre-qualification. I was just following procedure." Marcus raised a hand. "Protocol or profiling?" The question hit hard. Everyone could feel it. The entire store seemed to hold its breath. Marcus turned slightly to address the other employees. "Out of curiosity," he said, voice steady, "did anyone think to correct your manager's assumptions? Did anyone step in when I was told I couldn't afford the piece my company designs and sells?" Silence. A few staff members looked down at the floor. The assistant manager shifted awkwardly, but said nothing. One young sales associate, eyes glossy, looked like she wanted to speak, but fear held her still. Marcus returned his gaze to Richard. "Tell me, what exactly made you think I wasn't a serious customer?" Richard stammered. It wasn't personal. I didn't mean to offend." "But you did." Marcus's voice didn't rise, but the impact deepened. "You offended me. You insulted the brand. And you embarrassed yourself." As the store remained in stunned silence, Marcus's mind flashed back to his early career. Investor meetings where he was mistaken for an intern. Interviews where his white counterparts were addressed first. Elevator moments in corporate buildings where people clutched their bags tighter. Time and again, he was reminded that his achievements came second to his appearance. And now, even after building an empire, after creating opportunity for others to rise, he was still being treated like an outsider. He turned to the assistant manager. "What exactly happened before I left the store?" The assistant hesitated, caught between loyalty and truth. "You asked to see the emerald bracelet, and Richard said it wasn't for browsing. Then he asked security to watch you." Marcus nodded slowly. "And has that ever happened with any other customer here? Say, someone not dressed like me?" No answer. He turned toward the HR director. "We need to reevaluate the team culture here, immediately." The regional director added, "We'll launch a full investigation into the store's training and behavior. This isn't just about one manager." Marcus looked back at the staff. "This is bigger than today. It's about what kind of brand we're building and what kind of people we trust to represent it." Richard's face was drained of all confidence. He knew what was coming but couldn't stop it. The staff now stood in clear emotional contrast. Some with shame and regret in their eyes, others frozen by guilt or complicity. The customers remained riveted. Some filming, others whispering among themselves. One woman near the checkout nodded solemnly, as if silently thanking Marcus for standing his ground. This was no longer just about one incident. It was about exposing the kind of quiet prejudice that often hides behind policy and politeness. And Marcus, who had endured years of being underestimated, wasn't going to let it slide. Not in his own house. The room was so still, you could hear the soft hum of the display lights. Every pair of eyes, employees and customers alike, was locked on Marcus Langford as he stood centered in the showroom, poised like the leader he had always been. He took a breath and began, voice steady but resonant. "When I was 12, I used to walk past stores like this and wonder what kind of people shopped inside. I'd press my face to the glass and imagine a day I could afford to walk in, be seen, be respected. He glanced slowly around the room. And yet, even now, as the owner of this brand, I walk in and I'm told I don't belong. The tension in the air rippled. This isn't just about one bad judgment call, he continued. It's about what it says to the next young black entrepreneur who walks into this space. It's about what it says to the woman wearing secondhand clothes who might be buying her first piece of real jewelry. It's about whether we see people or just assume things about them. He turned directly to Richard, his voice unwavering. You judged me the moment I walked in, not on merit, not on how I treated you, just appearance. And in doing so, you didn't just disrespect me. You disrespected every value this brand stands for. The room held its breath. You're fired, Marcus said, clear and calm. A sharp gasp cut through the silence. Then another. And then, like a wave, murmurs and scattered applause began to rise among the customers. A woman near the door clapped slowly, deliberately. Another customer raised her phone higher, still recording, catching every second. Richard stood frozen, mouth slightly open, processing the blow. Marcus turned to the rest of the staff. This isn't just a store. This is a message. A place that's meant to say, you're seen, you're valued, you matter. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. This isn't just a brand, it's a legacy. And I won't let anyone stain it with ignorance. There it was. Final. Unshakable. Just then, a junior employee whispered something to the assistant manager, pointing toward her phone. The assistant manager checked hers too, eyes widening slightly. Sir, she said softly, stepping forward. It's already on social media. The video's going viral. Marcus gave a subtle nod, unsurprised. Good, he said. Maybe it'll make someone think twice the next time they want to judge someone based on what they think they see. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Within minutes, local news outlets were picking up the footage. Headlines buzzed. CEO confronts racial profiling in his own store. Marcus Langford's viral stand for respect and representation. The world was watching now. But more importantly, so was everyone in that room. And they wouldn't forget what they had just witnessed. Not because of the power of Marcus's position, but because of the power of his principles. The next morning, Marcus called for a mandatory all-staff meeting at the company's headquarters. The mood was tense, but his tone remained calm, resolute. He stood before the team, not as a scolding boss, but as a leader with purpose. This isn't just about one incident, he began. It's about the systems we allow to exist when we're not paying attention. He introduced a sweeping inclusivity and unconscious bias training program to be rolled out across all retail locations. Starting immediately, every employee, from top management to part-time clerks, would be required to attend. Additionally, hiring practices would be restructured to prioritize diverse, equitable representation in leadership roles. Anonymous reporting lines were set up. Store culture evaluations would be conducted quarterly. A few hours later, the company released a public statement. Langford Luxury is built on the values of dignity, inclusion, and excellence. What occurred in our Atlanta location is unacceptable and not representative of who we are or aim to be. We are taking immediate steps to hold ourselves accountable, implement change, and ensure that all customers and employees are treated with the respect they deserve. The reaction online was explosive. Supporters praised Marcus for taking swift, transparent action. Civil rights groups applauded the leadership. Influencers and news outlets shared the video widely, calling it a masterclass in calm accountability. But not everyone approved. Some conservative commentators accused Marcus of overreacting, of making a spectacle out of a private personnel matter. To that, Marcus responded during an interview with a single line: "When dignity is publicly denied, accountability must be too." Meanwhile, the fired manager, Richard, gave an awkward, defensive interview to a local news outlet. He claimed the situation was blown out of proportion and insisted that race had nothing to do with it. But the damage was done. The video clip spoke louder than his words, and public sympathy was not on his side. Through it all, Marcus remained composed, focused not on revenge but reform. He hadn't set out to make a scene. He had set out to make a statement. And he had done exactly that. 1 month later, Marcus returned to the same jewelry store. This time, he didn't wear a suit, just a simple sweater and slacks. He walked in alone, quietly. Everything felt different. The staff greeted him with warm smiles and genuine professionalism. Displays were cleaner. The energy in the room was attentive but unforced. As he browsed, a young black employee approached him, mid-20s, confident but respectful. "Mr. Langford, it's an honor. I just wanted to say thank you. I was here that day. You didn't know me, but what you did changed everything. I used to feel invisible here. Now I'm assistant manager." Marcus smiled, extended his hand, and gave the young man a firm, proud handshake. "Earn it every day," he said, "and help others do the same." He didn't stay long. As he stepped outside into the Atlanta sunlight, no one questioned his presence. No one watched him suspiciously. His power didn't need announcing. It lingered in the policies changed. The perceptions shifted and the lives uplifted. And as he disappeared down the street, one quiet truth remained. Sometimes power speaks loudest in silence, and justice can come in just 7 minutes.